Hi guys, and welcome to my next video. In today's video we're gonna speak about supernumerary flights, which means when you passed your exams, the whole training successfully, you will start flying, and for a couple of days, it varies. Now I had just like 3 days of supernumeraries, but I've heard that now there's like 6 days of supernumeraries. You will be additional member on board, and this is your time to ask questions and learn as much as you can, because after those 6 days or whichever days it is now, you will be left on your own. You will be a member of the crew. You will be either number 2, 3 or 4, just depends. And just to make it a bit easier for you, I still have my supernumerary paper in here, so it's like 2 pages of what I am supposed to do in those first 3 days that I was on board. I'm gonna read almost each one of you, the ones that I think are the most important, and then I'm gonna explain to you what does it mean, what you're supposed to do. So I'm gonna start with day number 1. So there's quite a few stuff to do on day number 1, quite long list. First we've got on the list is pre-flight safety briefing. I'm gonna be writing that in here for you, just so you can read it if you can't maybe understand me. So pre-flight safety briefing, what does it mean is basically your crew and pilots meet together and they are discussing what the day is gonna look like, how's the weather like, if there are any turbulences expected, anything like that. So it's basically a discussion with the whole crew how the day is gonna look like. Then we've got a pre-departure inspection of equipment, and what does it mean is just you are checking the equipment on board if it's operational, which means if you can basically depart with this kind of equipment. You have to check if there's enough of this equipment, so for example counting seat belts as well, if there's enough seat belts, because there's a number of seat belts that needs to be on board in order for us to departure. So probably it has changed, maybe. I'm not there almost 4 months. That was my last flight as a cabin crew, so 4 months, so might have changed something, but probably it will be very similar. And now pre-departure inspection of equipment depends which number you are on board. So if you're number 4, you do the least checks, because number 1 does most of them at the front, and then if you're at the back, if you're number 2, you have the most checks to do, and then if you're number 3, then you need to check also a couple of stuff at the back or in the middle of the cabin. Depends what kind of configuration of the aircraft there is, because there are a couple of configurations or aircrafts that the equipment is in different places, but you're gonna learn all about it on your training. Then we've got boarding of passengers and marshalling of passengers, which means basically marshalling is you go down the stairs, and you stand at the wing, more or less at the wing, and you're just guarding the wing so the passengers don't go under. Usually there is something so called, I think it's called PIGS, PIGS. I'm gonna write it to you in here. So basically it's like a strap that you are putting across the stairs and the wing so passengers don't go there. But always there must be, not always, if the ground crew requires you to go marshalling, you go marshalling. So basically just to guard the passengers either around the wing or just on the way to their terminal. This is what it means basically. Boarding of passengers is a boarding of passengers. You say good morning and stuff like that. Then we go stowage and securing of cabin baggage, which means basically, I think I forgot what does it mean, but I think what it means, stowage of passengers baggage. So we just need to make sure that they are stowed properly, so the big luggage is up in the hat bins, the smaller luggages under the seat, and they must be under the seat, that they cannot be on the seat. they need to be under the actual seat. Then we've got opening and closing of aircraft doors inside. What it basically means, you just practice opening and closing the doors from inside, as it says in here. And then we've got opening and closing of L2 door from outside, which means it's the doors at the back. All the doors have assigned names and numbers. So the one at the front will be called L1 door and R1 door, and then the back ones will be L2 and then R2. I think this is how it goes. I am not too sure anymore. You see how fast you can forget stuff. But L2 door are the ones at the back that are operated by the number 2. So you need to just in case you're gonna be number 2, because it happens that on your first day after supernumerary you are number 2. So you just need to get used to opening and closing those doors. Then we've got terms such as arming and disarming slides. So basically the evacuation slides, just in case you've got some evacuation, we always, just before we depart, we arm the slides, and after we land we disarm the slides. So you're gonna learn all about this in the training, just because if I was trying to explain to you it would just take too much time, but this is what you're gonna be practicing on board. Securing of cabin, which basically means before landing or before takeoff, making sure that passengers, the seatbelts are fastened, the window blinds fully open, stuff like this. Again, you're gonna learn all about it during your training. And then the most hard part, I think, what most of the new cabin crew finds, is the communication with flight crew, which means calling on the interphone. This is the phone that we are having on board. It's called interphone. You need to just try and call the flight crew, so the captain and first officer, and just ask them how are they doing and stuff like this. And this is, in my opinion, the hardest part to do, because most of the times you can't really understand what the flight crew is saying, just because those interphones, they are never good, so there's always some issue with them, so you never understand them. But that's what this is the part of the job. You will need to call them every 20 minutes just to check up on them, if they are okay, if they need something, stuff like that. But once you've done it once, you should be fine for the future. Then I'm gonna move on to my day number 2. So as on day number 2 it wasn't that much to do, so just a short list. For example, disembarking of passengers, so basically saying bye and stuff like that. Security procedures, so once the passengers disembark the aircraft, you need to check. You have some special security procedures, which I won't be able to discuss in here, just because of they are security procedures, and we can't really, even if I'm not in the company anymore, I don't want to tell everyone just because they are security procedures. Then operation of airstairs. So at the front of the aircraft we have stairs that they are attached to the aircraft. So we always have our stairs at the front, and then the airport brings us the stairs that they need to attach. But the ones at the front, you have buttons basically at the front of the cabin that you need to operate. You need to know how to operate them in a case that you need to open the airstairs yourself. Usually it's the number 1 that does it, but sometimes for some reasons they can do it. So if you're number 4, for example, you will be helping number 1 to open the doors and extend the airstairs. So there is like a couple of buttons that you just need to learn how to press and stuff like this, so nothing complicated. Then we've got communications, which means call bells, interphone and PA system. So basically you're just gonna try and learn to listen if there's any call bell from a passenger, because from my experience and from observing new cabin crew, when there is a call bell, so basically when passenger press the button above their head, new members of crew, they really sometimes they don't hear it, just because they just need to get used to it. So it takes a couple of days to get used to the call bells. So basically you will be responding each time you will hear a call bell. You just go and check up on the passenger if they need something or what's the problem. And then interphone, we discussed before, so communication with the flight crew. So you're just gonna call flight crew. You can call cabin crew from the back to the front or front to the back, depends which positions you're on. And PA systems, public announcements, so you're gonna be making announcements, safety announcements. So for example, location of the all kinds of equipment that might be needed. So sometimes before takeoff we say the location of the life jacket, because we've got two locations. We've got in the panel above the head or under the seat. So after the safety demonstration, you sometimes need to mention in the PA system that locations of the life jackets are in the panel above your head or just under your seat. So basically announcements like that. Also announcements for service, so hot food pre-orders or a service, gift service, stuff like this. Just practice as much as you can on your supernumerary flight, so you are comfortable with all the PAs on your, when you start the real job basically. And then day 3 is about firefighting and stuff like this, because you have to locate smoke detectors, circuit breakers, crash eggs, location of emergency doors, so basically evacuation stuff, firefighting stuff. So on board, some of the equipment to help us with emergencies are emergency locator transmitter. Usually it's located at the back of the aircraft where the number 2 is in their assigned area. So basically when there is some kind of ditching, for example, so landing on the water, as a number 2 you will have to remove this emergency locator transmitter called ELT, just in case the rescue crew needs to locate us. This will help them to find us basically. Then you will need to do location removal and restowing of halon, water glycol, fire gloves, crew life jackets, infant flotation devices. Basically you just need to touch every single equipment on board, remove it, stuff like this, put them back. Just practice how to do it, just in case there is emergency and you need water glycol to fight fire, stuff like this. So you need to be comfortable with removing those kind of stuff. And then we've got toilet compartments. So when you go to the toilet, there are several compartments that you need to learn how to open, how to close. There are some firefighting, not maybe equipment, but just in case there is a fire in the toilet, there is a special, I'm not too sure how it's called anymore. There is something under the sink that helps to fight a fire, just in case if there's some electrical fire under the sink. There is a special system that puts down the fire, so you also need to check that. You need to know where it's located, you need to check if it's operational before you depart and stuff like this. And then it's called toilet automatic fire extinguisher. This is how it's named in here. There was a different name for that, but I can't remember that at the moment. Location removal, restowing of additional equipment, so any other equipment that we've got on board and it's not that important. You just need to know all of it, how to take it out, how to use it and stuff like this. So again, as much as you can, practice those stuff on your supernumerary flights. Unfortunately, those supernumerary flights are not paid, so you will be doing that for free, but I had a lot of fun during my supernumerary flights. It was stressful because people were asking you where is located this and that and tell me this and that, so I had to know everything by heart. That's the hardest part, but once you've done it, you are fully qualified crew member and you can just go ahead and enjoy your flights. But just remember, safety is the most important at all times. So always before departure you need to do your safety checks, just to see if the aircraft is safety for departure. And whenever you're in doubt, if you're not too sure if something should work as it works or maybe it's broken, you always speak with your cabin supervisor and then with captain, just to raise an issue. And it's always worth checking. For example, I remember one of my last flights back in September September, was it? September, I think. We got a broken torch, because we've got torches as well. So under our jump seats, every crew member has a torch. So one of the torches was broken. There is a minimum of torches that we can depart with, so we can depart with one broken torch, for example, but then as soon as we can, we need to replace it with the new one. So we need to call engineers to replace it. So, you know, stuff like this, just always make sure that everything works, because whenever you depart, there's no engineers there in the sky. So always need to check everything on the ground. I remember one story I had, I think it was still when I was based in Berlin, that the door was making a very weird noise. I was number 2, so I was at the back, so I was kind of assigned to my doors, L2 doors, and they were just making a weird noise. So I raised an issue with the captain before departure. So he explained to me everything, that it's fine, nothing bad's gonna happen with them. And then during the flight he came out, and he was showing me actually that there's, whenever we close the door, there's like a rubber part that just protects the door from, you know, from any wind and stuff like this. And he actually managed to open this rubber part, and I could actually see like the sky when we were flying, and I was so panicked that something's gonna happen. He was like, don't worry, it's normal, that the aircraft is not 100%, you know, closed off like in a you know, like in a perfect box. So there are kind of sometimes leaks of air and stuff like this, because the doors are not perfectly closed. That's why there is this rubber part, but you can always sometimes see behind this rubber part, you can just see a bare sky. So I got very scared about it, but then he explained to me that it's completely normal, and there's nothing to be worried about. So again, just if you have any issues at all in the future when you start your supernumerary flights, always raise the issue if you are not too sure, even if you are just in a little doubt if is it supposed to be like that. Always ask before departure, just so you don't have any problems up there, so you have a calm and nice flight. So guys, I hope I explained to you a bit more about supernumerary flights. If you have any other questions, just drop them down below. But this is how more or less your supernumerary flight will look like, unless there's some big changes coming up, but I wouldn't say so. As well, if you have any questions, drop them down. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.